Hey, Megan here. Let me give you a little behind the scenes of how the sausage is made. If you're unaware, YouTube's goal, for lack of a better phrase, is to send you stuff that is interesting to you. Consequently, it's going to look for content that is enticing, it, has a good storyline, stuff like that. It takes all of these little touch points and metrics and decides that this is a good video to promote, or this is one that should stay in the ether away from this. Based on how I was trying to think about this episode, I'm going to say that it's probably the latter. I think that this is not going to be a very good episode for like the search algorithms, but it is very important for my acts of resilience that I'm doing this year, as we talked about in the intro episode for this series. So if you're not interested in this, please hang out until next week when a new, more interesting episode drops, I guess. But just giving you a heads up, because this is going to be more like a vlog. Wow, that is so not a good way to start a video, is it? Let's get back to it.
Quick recap. 2025 is my year of resilience, where I attempt to focus on ways I can be more resilient. One of these is by planting a raised vegetable garden bed from scratch. Despite being a horticultural writer and houseplant hoarder, I've never been able to successfully grow things outside, mostly due to ADHD. I'm a very out of sight, out of mind person.
It's currently February and nothing's being planted right now, obviously, right? So I wanted to instead talk about my planning strategy for how this is going to work and how I hope I can keep this going successfully and not let my ADHD take over and ruin everything. If I get this right, this episode will be a good foundation of how to do this, how to set up a raised garden bed from scratch and ensure that you keep plants and vegetables alive through a system, even if you cannot keep a routine to save your life. So first, let me talk about the stuff that I have so far for this plan. I have a giant order of seeds that came from Seed Geeks. It's probably not interesting for you to have me go through them individually, so I will just lay them out here for you to see. I have to be honest, before I bought these, I didn't do a lot of research on how easy they would be to grow each variety. I just kind of picked stuff that I knew we would eat and that most likely would grow here. I also got 2 books. Now, I personally prefer physical books to ebooks. The thought of like reading books on my phone, it's not happening. So physical books are always my preference. So the books that I got are Week by Week Vegetable Gardener's Handbook and How to Grow Great Vegetables in New York. Basically, I need someone to tell me what to do. And I felt like based on my research onto these books and what they promised, hopefully that will work and just tell me what to do. I've read a couple of chapters so far of each, and I appreciate their faith in me. That's the best way I can put it. The Week by Week Vegetable Gardener's Guide also recommended I get a notebook, although I will probably stick to spreadsheets, but yeah. I have a giant seed starting tray that I regret buying. It is giant. It has 72 cavities, and I thought at first that would be a really great idea because I could lay them all out at the same time. But if you have any sort of inclination in growing anything, then you probably realize that it's a terrible idea because different things have different growing needs and requirements. So it's too late to return it. Wouldn't recommend it. I also have, plan this out poorly, I don't know what they are. I also have biodegradable cups with humidity domes on them. So those will be good for plants that do not transplant well. Soil for in here, I have a seed starting mix from Coast of Maine that hasn't let me down yet. I also have dirt from outside that is currently in a pile around a tree. Last year I did a bunch of landscaping and I was like, I don't know what to do with this, but I feel like someday I'm going to need it in my true hoarder mentality. So I kept it around the tree. I was actually hoping it might like fill in a little bit, but that will be used into the garden beds as bottom fill. More on that later. Lights. I have Burina grow lights and I am hanging them a little bit lower than you would just to make sure that it is as close to the seedlings as possible. I have a heated seedling mat that is attached to an inkbird, so it keeps it on a timer and makes sure that if it gets within a too low or too high, it helps regulate it. The inkbird I would recommend if you are a big nerd and don't trust yourself to remember to do things, but it is expensive, so keep that in mind. I also have the raised garden bed, which I mentioned in the first episode, that I got as Big Lots was clearing out. It is 12 inches deep, which that's a lot. And from my reading, I don't think I need it to be that deep. So I'm going to be using one of my cutting tools to cut it in half so that I have two 6-inch deep raised garden beds. Is this a terrible idea? I don't know. We're gonna have to find out. But I think not. I don't think that whatever I want to grow has roots that are too deep, and also like they're open raised garden beds on the ground. So if they need to go in deep, they can, but also for deeper rooted things like tomatoes, or excuse me, like potatoes or something like that, I have my felt grow bags. I also have a 4-tiered planter that I'm going to be using, I think, for herbs. I also have a spreadsheet that I'm quite proud of that lists all of the things I got, the different species, the grow rates, if they can be sown indoors or out, and it is very nerdy and I love it. And I've made a blank copy too. So if you want it, I will link to it below. You can make a copy of it. It's just a Google sheet. And I have my water barrel. Nothing to say about that. It's fine. What I currently have growing, garlic. That's it. So far, so good. Stuff I need to get, potatoes. It is not yet time to get seedling potatoes or starter potatoes, or whatever they're called, or sweet potato slips. So yeah, that'll be coming up soon. I want to get 2 new water barrels. I'm going to be getting 2 blue barrels, which are the standard, super cheap, reused food grade thing barrels, 50 gallons each. I got a guy, but it's February. We're about to get a giant snowstorm, so I don't need them right now. And he is thankfully understanding and is holding them for me. I'm also thinking about getting an irrigation system, but my concern is that I am way overzealous in my strategy than I am in the actual delivery. So my goal is where the gardens are going to go is not very close to a drain spout. So my plan was to put 1 barrel by the drain spout, another barrel closer to the garden, an extension hose like for overflow under a trench, like dig a trench, and up to the other barrel, because this will cut through the gate to my backyard. I would trip over it, so it has to go underground. But I'm kind of concerned again that this is probably more overzealous than reasonable. We'll see. Follow along with me. I also need to get garden soil, which hasn't happened yet. It'll have to be mixed with the current soil that we have just to make sure it has enough nutrients. Again, I put it all out, dug it all up last year, and now it's winter, so I'm sure that it doesn't have a lot of nutrients that plants are going to need, so it's got to be infused with some stuff. So a couple of bags of garden soil is going to be necessary. I also have on my list a good reminder system for ADHD to water plants. I don't really know what that means. I guess it means some sort of way to automate the irrigation system through the water barrels. TBD on that. Lastly, things I'm still trying to learn. I'm going to have two garden beds, 6-ish grow bags, and the 4-tiered planter. And so I need to figure out the best way to get all of these plants and veggies into the most efficient design as possible. The other thing I need to learn is succession planting. I can't really say more about that right now. Not because it's a teaser or anything, but more just because I want to get the placement right and get succession planning right, but I'm not confident that I know everything about it that I need to know to make it happen. As mentioned before, I need to research how to automate irrigation to make sure that nothing succumbs to my ADHD. And most importantly, in my opinion, is that I need to learn how to make this all work so that I don't get overwhelmed and give up. Because I'm already overwhelmed. And yeah, I want this to work very badly. So I hope that I can get this done. I hope that I can maintain my goal of resilience this year with vegetable crops. TBD. Okay, next episode I think will be more action and less just talking to you. So yeah, thank you for joining me. Like I said, if this was boring, I promise the next couple of episodes will be back to more search algorithm friendly topics. But until then, thank you for joining me. I'll see you in the next video.